All right, welcome everybody. Today's office hours is about long-term seller and buyer and seller leads. Just doing all the different follow-up stuff. Whenever Lisa and I were getting together, we were talking about what different topics and stuff that we want to do. And this is one of them that, keeping up with those long-term buyers and sellers can be a challenge at times. And we just want to make sure that you have the systems in place and stuff to do it. So that's kind of where this originated. My name is Mark Stepp. If you guys don't know me, I am the product development person here in Realvolve, the engineer, part of the engineering team. Official titles, Chief Innovation Officer. If you go for titles, I like that just because it has the word innovation in it. But what I do, I love doing what I do, and it's really helping create solutions for people. And in these types of situations where we're doing the office hours, is just kind of explaining the why. I've been in real estate technology for over 31 years now, and I really have seen it all pretty much. But it's been fun, and I just want you guys to know that I'm here for you if you ever need assistance and stuff. On the other end of the line here, I've got Lisa Crumby. She is from the Premium Services Department. She has been, how long have you been a real estate agent?
Oh my gosh, 20 years.
20 years. Awesome. Well, she helps agents daily in our Navigator team. And with this, we're going to talk about strategy and premium services, and we'll have a QA section. What I want you guys to understand is this is kind of your time. We're going to go over a topic, which is the buyer and seller leads long-term. But if you guys have questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand or hit chat or even unmute yourself and ask the question. So this is very informal, and we'll go through it. So actually, Lisa, do you want to share your screen instead? You want to control it? Yes.
Okay, perfect. 1 second. Awesome. Mark, are you all ready for me to kind of get going here?
Go for it. Yeah. So
awesome.
And well, if you don't mind, if you can maximize your screen, that way whenever we do the replay, I can, if you can.
It is maximized.
Okay, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it looks like it's not quite, but if it is on your side, that's fine.
Yeah, it definitely is on my side.
Go for it.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I really wanted to, I think it's important for, if you are purchasing leads, nurturing those leads, that you should have certain workflows and certain activities within those workflows. And I think as agents, we want to follow up and nurture with these people. Home buying and home selling has become increasingly digital. I mean, we're doing everything now. We're signing documents electronically. Homes can be viewed electronically, digitally, FaceTime with our agents. So we need to stay in front of these potential buyers and sellers. And when we're doing that, we need to share value as well. So that was my big thing about today's presentation. So for today's agenda, I really want to talk about our lead buyer, lead seller workflows, following up with long-term buyer seller workflows, putting value in that content as well. And then maybe talking a little bit about buyer and seller guides, if you're using those, if not, why are you not using them? And then we'll just kind of go from there. So let's go ahead and get started here. If you are purchasing leads for your real estate business, or even if you receive referrals, you should have the following workflows in your library. You should have a lead buyer workflow, a lead seller workflow, long-term buyer workflow, and a long-term seller workflow. I'm going to start with those 4, but I think even in addition to these, because if you ever stop one of these workflows, for example, if you have a long-term buyer and you finally make that connection, you need to get them into an active buyer workflow. Same thing with the seller, whether they're a lead seller or a long-term seller and you finally make that connection, we need to get them into a listing appointment workflow. So there are a ton of workflows that we can do moving forward.
And Lisa, what are you considering short-term versus long-term? I mean, what breaks that down?
Right, exactly. So I was just going to get into that. So, for example, our lead buyer, lead seller workflows, I'm going to talk those, a little bit on each one. I'll go into the activities here shortly. But when we have a lead coming into Revolve, let's just say if you're having those brought in from Zapier, which I'm sure most of you do, we tend to recommend, and again, every agent works differently. So they could have a 5-day follow-up with the lead, a 7-day, 10-day. We highly recommend 7 days. With me working with a lot of Navigator clients over the years, 7-day, it seems to be that magic number. It's aggressive, okay? But once we get through that process, if we really don't make that connection, or if we do and we want to put them onto a long-term workflow, that workflow is going to be 12 months. It's a year-long campaign. And in that workflow, we have automated emails, triggers to calls. So I'm going to go over that here in just a few minutes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. And again, like Mark mentioned earlier, feel free to ask questions in chat or speak out loud. We love to have a little bit of interaction during these webinars. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about activities for our lead buyer and lead seller workflows. Okay, again, if you currently are purchasing leads for your real estate business, you should actually, let me back up a little bit. If you are purchasing leads and you're bringing those leads into, or if you're not, we can bring those leads into Revolve via Zapier, and it will automatically create a contact in Revolve and automatically start the workflow. You'll get an immediate, if you set it up this way, you can get an immediate text alert that you have a new lead, and that buyer lead or seller lead can receive an immediate text and an immediate email from you. That's what we recommend you do with these activities and these workflows. In a 7-day follow-up, like I recommend that you do, you can do follow-up calls that are going to trigger you to call your client every day. And I'm going to show you my workflow in just a few moments. And if they don't answer the call, you can maybe even send a no response text if you'd like to do it that way. And we also have evaluate. We need to evaluate our clients if they're not responding. And we also have groups in some of our workflows. And I'll go over that here in just a few minutes. So let me go ahead and go over here. Oops. Oh, for some reason, Mark, when I'm sharing, it won't let me access my screens or my tabs.
I think whenever you stop sharing and share again, because you did that last time. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why. Let's just give that another whirl.
I think it started working after you shared it again last time.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's so strange. Okay, so I'm going to go into workflows, and I'm just going to go right into a lead buyer workflow that we have here. And again, like I mentioned earlier, everybody works a little bit differently. So a 7-day follow-up with calls every single day may be a little aggressive for some agents. So when I'm coaching my clients, I may ask them, tell me a little bit about your process. What is your follow-up process? Do you email them every day? Do you text every day? Do you alternate? Or do you call every day? Or maybe you don't call at all. Okay. What we recommend in the 7-day follow-up is at least a trigger to call every day. And in your calls, I'm going to open up the activities here just to give you an idea. In your calls, you can have it trigger. It'll show up the phone number. And if you call, if you left a message, or maybe you made connection with the client, in your activity, if you enter that into the notes, it will immediately show up on the radar tab of that contact record. The nice thing about this specific activity in our call, or you can actually build it into all of your activities, if you make a connection with a client, you have the option, if you make this an action in your workflow, you can start the long-term buyer workflow, or if you have an active buyer workflow and they're ready to start previewing, you can actually start these right away. So let me, go ahead.
So on this, just to make sure everybody's on, and kind of depending on where they're at in their Realvolve journey, the checklist piece there, she's using 2 merge fields. One is the merge field for the home mobile, the contact home mobile, and 1 merge field for the notes. Whenever this, as a workflow, whenever this workflow is created on the contact, if the home phone number or home mobile number is put into the field, it will display it there. If it doesn't have the phone number, whenever you go to complete this activity, it'll display it. But if it's not on there, you can actually fill it in, and it will fill in that merge field content that you've filled in into the contact record. So anytime that you're collecting data on a person through an activity, always use the checklist merge fields, and it makes it so much easier. And we'll show how that's actually done later. But just understand that those are just merge fields that will be used as the activity is completed.
Right. Thank you, Mark. And one more thing, too, that I wanted to share with you, even in the title of the activity, especially in these lead workflows, you can use merge fields in the title of the activity. So that way, when the activity pops up, if you're using this merge field, when you started it on a contact record, it will say John Smith, day 2 call. So that's the nice thing of putting merge fields in those activities as well. So getting back into the action, if you made a contact when we're running the activity, I have the option, and again, I'm going to show you how this works, but you do have the option of building out an activity in these calls. So if I open up the action right here, the title of the action is, if I made contact, I want to start the long-term buyer workflow. This is just the title of the action. No one's going to see this. I'm going to go right in down below to stop workflows. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to tell the system to start the long-term buyer workflow. And when it does that, it'll automatically stop that lead buyer workflow.
So there's a 2-step process, a start process and a stop process. So if you've completed, 2 or 3 activities of the current workflow, it will stop it. It will keep those activities that have been completed in your completed area, but it'll remove the ones that are still left to be done. And then it'll go ahead and add the long-term buyer activities into the calendar for that contact.
Right, exactly. And the nice thing too about these actions is, if it wasn't a long-term buyer, maybe you made that connection, these are options. So maybe you made that connection and they're not long-term, but they're in fact ready to go start previewing homes. Then I have the option to go ahead and select, I want to start them on the active buyer workflow. And the same thing down below, start the active buyer, stop the lead buyer workflow.
Very good.
I'm going to go ahead and update that. Just a few things that I wanted to show you in this workflow, because I want to share with you the lead seller and how it runs kind of the same way. And I'm going to give you an example on how to start these and what it looks like to even stop a workflow and start another one. When this workflow starts, again, this is our lead buyer workflow. This isn't just a generic lead start workflow. So what we recommend, number one, in our activities, if there's anything automated, I recommend in the activity that you put an A in front of it, so you and your team members know that this is going to be an automatic activity. There's going to be no manual preview, anything like that. If you set up a text or an email in your activities, put an A in front of it so you know it's automatic. Just a tip there.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And then the emails, as you can see, there's going to be in ours, we do an every other day. We'll do an email one day, maybe the next day we do a text. Again, you can customize these to the way you do business. Same thing with the calls. This is aggressive. So we have 7 calls in our workflow, but you might be an every other day call. Let's do a call the first day and at the end of 7 days. Okay. I want to show you a couple of the templates really quick. And I'm going to get into this a little bit because I know when we're trying to communicate with lead buyers and lead sellers, they may be hearing from other agents as well. You're not the only one that they're communicating with. So this is important to know. So when I'm coaching my NAV clients, I'm constantly saying in your templates, create value. Okay, super important. And Mark, I think there's some items in chat if anybody has any questions.
Okay.
I have a question for you next. This is Maddie. How can I help you?
Oh, hang on a second.
Yep.
Unmute yourself, Lisa. Had to mute everybody.
Got it. Okay, no problem. Thank you for doing that. So as we have our templates here, our lead buyer, this is our intro email to the client. So when we start the workflow, that lead's going to get an immediate email from us. Okay, so just want you to know that you can edit these templates however you like. You can make them short and to the point. Okay. I wanted to share with you because I work with a lot of clients, and a lot of emails and text messages, as they repeat daily, they may say, hey, I'm still here if you're thinking about buying a house. Are you still thinking of selling your home? And that's it. You really need to not make your email too lengthy or your text messages too lengthy, but at least share some value. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment. I'm going to quickly show you, because there's a lot to cover today. I'm going to go to the dashboard and I'm going to start a lead workflow for you, and I want you to see how this works. So I'm just in the contact record. I'm in the Lisa Test contact record, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just start the lead buyer workflow.
So this would be if the lead just comes in from Zapier, it automatically adds the contact to the database, and it would automatically start the workflow without having to go through all these steps. This manual process just does it manually.
Yeah, just to kind of show you. Yep. I basically want to show you, number one, how this is going to run, but I also want to make sure that you need to remember that, let's just say on day 2 or 3, that you actually get in touch with this client. You need to go in here and manually stop this workflow and then start another one. So I want to show you what that looks like as well, because we can't just continue to let it run if you're already communicating with the client. That would make you look a little silly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit next. And you, the agent, whoever starts this workflow, the record owner, we're going to go ahead and select next. We're going to do the start date today. Remember, this is going to be your milestone date. So this is going to go ahead and trigger all of the future dates of the activities on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and select next. I'm going to go ahead and select done. And we're just going to give that a few minutes.
Each of those 4 buttons would have been done automatically for you. You don't have to do that normally. It just whenever you're doing it manually.
And that's if a lead is brought in automatically, but keep in mind that you can even use this workflow. If you get a referral from someone, then yes, you can manually start this workflow until you get in touch with that referral. So I'm just going to go to the activities just to kind of show you what this looks like really quick. Let's see, I'm just going to go to like a day 2 call. I'm going to select that one. See, it's going to show me the phone number. And then let's just say I went ahead and I made a connection there. So I'm just going to say, spoke with Lisa and she wants to buy a $5 million home. Whoops, not percentage. Let's back that up and do a 5. And I'm going to go ahead and save. Now, if I go back into the radar tab, because I made that note, that merge field notes was in the activity, I added that note. So I'm going to go back to the radar tab, and in my notes, well, it'll show up here soon here. Let's see here. Spoke with Lisa and she wants to buy a $5 million home. Goes right to the radar tab. So now I'm going to go back to the activities, and keep in mind that you won't have to manually run any of the text or the emails that are going out. They're all set to automatic. Highly recommend automatic on all of these emails and text messages. The same if you're running a long-term buyer or a long-term seller workflow that has emails in it, automatic. Okay, we want to systematize and save you time. Okay, so that's why it's very important for you to take time when you're editing those templates. You know, put some heart and thought into it and create that value, and you'll be good to go. So I'm just going to say, for example, I ran through a couple of these activities and I made that connection. So I need to stop this workflow. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the X at the very top of the activities. I'm going to go to the very first one. And I'm going to go ahead and delete all remaining. Because I'm stopping this workflow, the system's going to go ahead and populate here. What workflow do they want to go on to next? Okay. I spoke with Lisa. Although she wants to buy a $5 million home, she's not quite ready. She's got to clean up her credit and miscellaneous things have to go on. So she's going to maybe be 6 months down the line. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the long-term buyer workflow. I'm going to select next. I want to go ahead and run all activities. Select next. Group fast start as the agent. I'm going to start this workflow today. It's going to trigger everything on the right side, all of those activities for the following 12 months. Done. It's going to generate all my activities. So I just started the long-term buyer workflow with a click of a button because I need to stop workflow. How awesome is that?
Yeah, I like that. So summarize, you've got a contact coming in, either you manually put it in or comes in from Zapier. It automatically starts a basic workflow just to make some communication. Once you make that communication, that workflow gets stopped. Whenever you stop it, it prompts you and says, hey, do you want to start another one? We're preventing that contact from falling through the cracks. And then from that one, you choose, long-term buyer, long-term seller, depending on who they are, what they are, because the first workflow, you may not have known whether they were buyer or seller, but you might have. But whenever then that starts, now you've got 12 months worth of additional content and information going to that person on a regular basis.
Right. And I would love to hear from any of you, all of you, what your processes are for following up with your leads.
Yeah.
Because I'd love for this to be interactive and share what's working, share what's not working.
Yeah. In the chat, if you would, just tell us how, for long term, how long do you go for? What kind of content maybe that you provide them? I think I always call it the JIT content, JIT, just-in-time content. And whenever a buyer is coming to you, they may know a lot, they may not. And you providing them with information on the market, the process, the things that you know inside and out, they may not know. And providing that extra value just in time when they need it is critical.
Absolutely. And please let us know if you have any questions on anything that I'm covering. Feel free to stop me and raise your hand if you have questions. Okay. Really quick, before I go to long term, I'm just going to go to quickly the lead seller workflow, because if you have a lead buyer workflow, you should have a lead seller workflow, and it pretty much can run the same way. 7 days of follow-up, maybe it's 5 or 10, depending on your business process. Again, if you stop this workflow, you can stop the workflow and apply a long-term seller workflow. If you actually get the listing appointment, okay, so let me go into a call, because this would be a little bit different, because a listing appointment workflow should be a property workflow. Okay, so in a checklist, you can say made contact, they want to go on a listing, or they want to have a listing appointment. You can have a checklist item to create the property for that client and then start the workflow from there. So I'm just going to go into a call and see if it's built into the specific workflow. And here it is. So it is built into our checklist on calls for our lead seller workflow. Listing appointment requested by the seller, stop this workflow, and then start a property workflow. Just wanted to show you guys that. Mark, is there anything else that you can think I can go over with the lead buyer, lead seller workflows before I go to long-term nurturing?
Whenever I look at this, there's 18, is it 18, 16 or 18? Can't hardly
18.
see it. Great. 18 different activities that just get automatically created. And I think whenever users that use Realvolve, the agents that use Realvolve, if you've got processes that you do on a day in and day out, and you're not using a workflow like this, you're going to let things fall through the cracks. It's just inevitable. You've got too many people you're dealing with. Time flies when we're having fun, and we just, forget things. So the important thing to understand about the workflow is that you put it in as a template, you start it on your contacts, and from that point forward, it's just an automatic process. Those text messages and emails go out automatically, whether you're sipping on coffee or you're sleeping or whatever, work is being done. And that's how you scale your business, making sure that you can get more done in less time. So just realize the importance of having the workflows designed for the way you do business. You may not want to do 18. Maybe you want to do fewer. Maybe you need 30. It just depends on how you do business and how aggressive you are. So that's the real key to Realvolve is the workflow platform. There is no other system out there. Some of them have task series and action plans and stuff like that. And in the lead process, it's very basic. I mean, this is 1 day after, 2 days after, 3 days after. But whenever you get into your listing processes, your transaction processes, those are so much bigger, broader, that trying to remember everything in those processes, it would be a nightmare. So let's figure out what we can automate and make easy on us and get it off of our brains. We don't have to be worrying about these things. Let the system remind you when it needs to be done.
Well said, Mark. And one thing I wanted to add to that as well, everyone in your database, outside of vendors and other agents, to me in my database, everyone should be on a workflow from lead buyer to long-term active transaction and then nurturing after that, past client. We're branching workflows here at Revolve. So everyone in your database should be on a workflow of some sort. One thing I did want to show you that I didn't say, at the end of both lead buyer and lead seller workflows, there is an activity if they have not responded to any of your emails, they haven't answered the phone, you do have an evaluate. You should have this in your workflow at the end of the process to evaluate that specific lead. And what that means is, what do you want to do with the lead at that time? So if I open up this activity, I'm going to evaluate the lead. Do I want to go ahead and put them on the long-term buyer? If they are a lead buyer or lead seller, I highly recommend that you do this. Don't just trash them. Okay, we're going to talk about trashing leads at the end of a long-term buyer or long-term seller workflow, but definitely want to move them on to a long-term workflow. Keep in touch with them. There's nothing really for you to do, because keep in mind, if you build out that long-term buyer seller workflow to have automatic emails go out every month and a trigger to call, and you don't even have to call if you don't want to, but at least you'll have started that workflow and they're still receiving communication from you.
Hey, Lisa, we've got a question. Does everyone have the 1RVLB or 1RVLS workflows or only Navigator? I checked mine and it doesn't have them.
Yeah, only Navigator clients have these specific workflows. So I'm in actually my group Fast Start demo account. So these are my workflows. But yeah, anything that's 1RV, LB, LS, BO, etc., they're all Navigator workflows. I'm just doing these for demo.
So we have a library of workflows that if you go through the Navigator program, you get. We do have other workflows that are in our library that it's not specifically this one, but we do have some follow-up different types of workflows that are available. But, I don't know. I love that we have our library. I mean, I wanted that and designed that part in Realvolve so that people can share their ideas and stuff. But realize everybody's different, and taking this 18-step workflow or 27-step workflow, you still have to kind of go through it and figure out what is it, what's in it and stuff. Is it that much harder just to create your own? How do you do business? And that's the yin yang piece. I can see it both ways. Personally, I would want to create my own. I have my own processes, my core strategies of things, but some agents don't have those and they want to see samples of stuff. So we've got some samples out there. Definitely, if you want to take a look at some of those, you can download some of those. But the 1RVLB and LS are Navigator ones.
Yeah. And the one nice thing too, with these Navigator workflows, and for those of you may be seasoned and you may be newer agents, and we can talk about this at the end of the call, is, when you work closely with the Navigator and you get all these workflows, we're working with you to customize these workflows to meet your business needs and your processes. So that's one of the advantages that a lot of the users get when they're customizing these workflows in the Navigator program, is they get all these workflows and we're customizing them for them. Okay, so let's dive into long-term buyer, long-term seller workflows. And before I kind of get into that, if you have a buyer or seller lead that's not quite ready to move forward with the home buying or the home selling process, then you need to consider putting them on one of these workflows. long-term buyer or a long-term seller, because it's so important to stay in touch with these clients. We want to make sure it's so important for you to stay top of mind when they decide that they're ready to pursue their real estate goals, whether it's buying or selling a home. So what I want to do is briefly talk about long-term buyer. And then give me one moment. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything over here.
There was one more question. Can we purchase those Navigator workflows if we don't go through the Navigator program?
You absolutely can. And I can't recall how much they are, but at the very end, you can reach out to sales@realvolve.com and they can talk to you about purchasing the Navigator suite. Absolutely. Long-term workflows. So again, they're ready to pursue their goals. The general task in these workflows, both long-term buyer and long-term seller, that we recommend is to the very first activity, you should auto-apply a tag. And what I mean by that is when we're auto-applying tags to these clients, when we tag them, for example, long-term buyer tag, that tells us that they're currently on that workflow, which is awesome. Every email, we do 1 email a month. It should be automated. And I'm going to go into the content in just a moment. We have monthly calls built into this workflow as well. But in our calls, and I'm going to show you how this works, is if they don't answer, we have an option to send a no response text, which is nice because that's not automatic. You have to make the call. And then if you want to send the text, that's a manual option. But that text can be as simple as, hey, I was just calling to see if you're still ready to buy a home, or however, you want to word that template. Let me go into long-term buyer really quick. So again, we have 26 activities here. When I said the very first activity, you should apply a tag to that contact record if you put them on this workflow. So I'm going to open that up and let you see what that looks like. So again, we're going to auto apply the tag. I'm building that into the action. So right here, I just said add tag. I'm going to open that up and I'm going to scroll down to tags. And I've added the tag that I want applied to that contact. Okay, so everyone I start this workflow on, when I start the workflow, the first activity is apply the tag. I have it built into the action. So all I have to do is select run and it tags. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a moment. Let me get out of there really quick. And then all of the emails that we have set up, again, A in front for automatic. So the team or that it's an automatic activity. It's just going to go. There's nothing for you to do. I have in the merge field of the activity, contact full name, because that way at least it'll say automatic John Smith, long-term buyer, email 1. Okay. And then in the call, this is what I mean by setting up a no response text. If I open up this activity in the checklist, again, it'll show the home mobile, notes if I want to make the notes, and if I want to update that last call date, which again is very important that you always update your last contact dates. If I make the call and the client doesn't answer the phone for some reason, I have the option of setting up a monthly text action. So what that looks like is monthly text. Again, it's a manual text. It's going to be a manual send, SMS. This is the template that's going to be sent. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. That's all I do.
Do you have different variations of that so that you're not sending the same text every month?
Different text every month. Yep. So it's going to be 12 separate templates. So that's what I'm going to go into next, just to show you what you should have when you're setting up a long-term buyer, long-term seller workflows. If I go to my templates, you're going to see I have 12 checking in text. I don't know why 2 shows up first, but text 1 will go with month 1 call. Text 2 goes with month 2 call. So every single one of these, and again, it's text. So we want to keep that simple. Don't put in a bunch of pictures and all that fun stuff. We want to get right to the point. Hey, so-and-so, this is so-and-so, was calling to see if you wanted to chat about finding a home. The text messages are not lengthy. They shouldn't be. But again, you'll want to create these templates that match your business needs. Okay. You want to personalize these, you want to put your voice in these text messages. So earlier I was talking about creating value, adding value into your email templates. This is so important because remember, it may be a lead that you've never talked to. and you have them on these long-term buyer, long-term seller workflows because you have them in your database. You're trying to make that connection. You're trying to convert them into a home buyer or home seller. So monthly emails. Again, I'm just going to kind of go through some brief templates here. You want to talk about maybe their home buying goals. Helping them find a home is priority for you. A couple samples here. Steps to home ownership. Again, we're providing value. Don't have a monthly email that looks like this. I can't tell you how many clients I've coached. I've gone into their templates and I'm like, what is this? Okay, because I've been coaching for a long time. I'm like, this is unacceptable. You have to have the value. Okay. For example, month 3, let's talk about the pre-approval process. They may be a first-time home buyer and not really be sure on the pre-approval process. Maybe talk about what not to do once you're approved. Major steps. Don't buy a car. Don't do anything. Don't jeopardize the possibility of you buying a home.
That's that just-in-time information that I talk about. Making sure that you're providing that content, that important information that they may not know about. Exactly.
And in one of mine, because I actually have it in a lead buyer workflow, long-term buyer and seller, and even active buyer in my listing appointment, buyer seller guides, a link to your buyer seller guide, because there's nothing better than providing that value, but actually seeing you providing content, something for them to look at and not just read text and email. Let them click on the link. Let them see what you do for them. Let them see all the steps. Okay. And if you don't have a buyer or seller guide that you're currently using, we'll talk about that in a few moments as well. But again, as I go through these templates, content is key. So important that you're providing value, providing something different. Let those buyers or sellers know that you're professional and you know the market, you know what's going on. Okay. Any questions so far, Mark, in chat that I'm missing?
Yeah, there was one question that Allison had asked about how can we add the checklist items with merge fields? And I explained in there that in that checklist area, you just put in 2 square brackets, and then you can start typing some keyword. So if you typed in bracket mobile, it will bring up any merge fields that have the word mobile in them, and then you can choose it from the list. So if you wouldn't mind go in there, just maybe you wanted to add the home phone. So you put in bracket home, and it'll show all the different, fields or whatever, and then you can click and type that in. At that point, then, whenever you select it, it puts it into the list, and then from that point forward, that merge field will be there. Now, what I really like to do is, she's got the basic information, the home mobile, the notes, and the last call date. But if this is some kind of phone call you're going to make, what are some of the other fields you might like to know about them? What is their address, or, stuff like that? And you could put those fields in there as well. So while you're having a conversation with them and you're being prompted for different information, you can fill it in the checklist, and then that fills it back into the database for you. So you're using the activity as kind of a punch list of information you want to collect. And so no matter if you're doing it, or if maybe you've got some kind of, salesperson that's making the phone calls, you're dictating what information you would like to get from them while they're on the phone call. She asks, is this the same process as adding merge fields in the templates? Yes, exactly the same. Bracket, and then whatever you can put in a search term of some sort.
Just keep in mind that when you're adding those brackets, you can't create your own merge fields. When you're putting those brackets, you have to type in what you're looking for or scroll through the list and select the one that you want. Make sure when you select it that you hit enter so it adds to the checklist, and then update the activity.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. Good questions, Allison. Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. So again, in your long-term communications with your clients, content is key. Create that value. Really quick, just an overview on running that long-term. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Lisa Test. And I want to go ahead and I'm going to start her on that long-term buyer. Did I do that already? Let's see if I did. I did. So I just started the long-term buyer workflow on Lisa earlier. You're going to get an activity here to auto apply that tag. Remember, I showed you in that activity, in the action, the tag that I want automatically added. So now in the activity, I'm just going to select the activity. I'm going to say add tag, run. That's all I have to do. I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to search for the tag, type it in. I'm going to go to the radar tab, long-term buyer tag right here. Okay, automatically applied to the client.
And remember that as you go through this process, at the end of that workflow, you can remove that tag automatically as well, if need be. Or
Yep.
change it. So you might be adding one and deleting one. You may be switching to or something else like that. You have the ability to add and subtract tags automatically, and that helps you identify who's on what and makes it real easy.
Exactly. So if you ever stop this workflow for some reason because you did make that connection and they want to start looking at homes or they want to start that process, you can start the active buyer workflow and have that first activity, apply an active buyer tag, and at the same time, remove the long-term buyer tag. I won't go over the emails because those are activities that are automatic, that once you create the templates and you set it up automatically, it will just run. But I wanted to show with you like the monthly calls. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. In the checklist, if I have my phone number in my contact right here, it'll go ahead right there. Because again, these are checklist items because I have an incomplete checklist item because I want to do that monthly no response text. I'm going to put in notes and I'm just going to say I left Lisa a message. And I want to go ahead and I want to update that last call date. So I'm going to go ahead and select today because I called her today. So now that this checklist is complete, it's giving me the option. Do I want to send that monthly no response text? Because remember, if you build in 12 monthly calls, create those 12 monthly texts, but make sure each template's different. Don't run the same one every month and say, hey, it's me again. They don't want to see that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run that monthly text. I'm going to select run. It's going to let me preview. This is not an automatic text. Okay. It's in the action. So I can actually edit the message if I want, and I can create it or I can update this. And this will not affect the master template. Just so you know, I'm editing the message. So I can just say something like, please answer your phone. Okay. So I'm going to say, do that. And then I'm going to send the message and they're going to get that text message. And I just got it. I just got it on my phone. Please answer. So you definitely can edit those messages, but if you are confident in the messages that you've already edited or the templates, you don't have to do anything, just hit run.
Yeah.
Okay. So just wanted to give you an idea of what that no response can look like. It's a great feature if it's something that you feel you'd want to add to your business processes. Any questions on how I did that? All good?
Nothing yet, so go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So what I want to do is I talked a little bit earlier about buyer and seller guides and adding content to either your lead buyer or lead seller workflows if you want to add it in there. Maybe it's your long-term buyer, long-term seller workflows, because every agent, okay, I've been an agent for a very long time, every agent should have a buyer's guide and a seller's guide, okay, because you need to provide that value. Let them know what you do in your business plan. So for example, this is the buyer's guide. Okay, this is one that we've recently created for Revolve. So it's a buyer's guide. This one, buyer's guide, is 27 pages. Okay, I think maybe an average buyer's guide and seller's guide could be 25 pages. This is 27. I think our seller's guide is 34. So just to kind of give you an idea, when I'm creating value, and I'm going to share this in a link to my clients in my workflows, okay, they're automatically going to get this. Okay, it's going to be Meet Lisa. It's going to have all my information here. If I have a team, it's going to talk about my team here. A little welcome, talking about, thanks for, learning about the home buying process. It's also going to, in your guides, you should have a little bit on what they're going to learn. What are they going to learn in this buyer's guide? You want to share the home buying process. What are the steps from the initial appointment all the way through closing and beyond? What to expect when buying a home. Okay, I'm just briefly going through these really quick. What are their real estate goals? When you have something like this in your buyer guide and even your seller guides for that matter, it gets them thinking, what are my goals? What am I looking for a home? Why am I wanting to purchase? Talk about interest rates. What does that mean for home buyers? Talking about home ownership, working from home. What are you looking for in a home? Do you want an at-home gym? Again, we're just kind of going through 10 reasons why people are reconsidering why they want to buy a home or what they want in a home. What to expect when working with a real estate professional. What are those buyers looking for at home? So again, this is just a sample of what you could be sending to your clients. And if you're not already, then maybe we should talk because again, I can't recommend highly enough that you have something like this, or even if it's a 2-page something that you create and you send out to your clients, send them something like this. I don't care if it's 2 pages, 4 pages, or 30.
Lisa, as far as the buyer's guide itself, would you create just one big buyer's guide like this, or do you create one maybe for first-time home buyers, and then maybe one for move-up sellers or show houses, or I guess the retirement and then moving out? Do you create separate buyer's guides for each one of those?
You definitely can. I haven't. I've always had just a generic buyer guide, seller guide like this to send to clients. And then as I get to know my clients and what they really are looking for in their buying needs and their selling needs, I can easily go in if I don't have it already, create something. I'm a big Canva user. I can just create something really quick and send it to my clients, customized to them, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So again, talking about pre-approval process, what not to do after applying for a mortgage. This is a big one, and every buyer should be aware of this. So again, just kind of scrolling through this buyer guide and letting you know, or maybe giving you some ideas on what you can do when you're creating one, because we also have one for sellers as well. I think this one's 34, but the same thing, same content, meeting the agent, meeting the team, and then again, welcome, what they're going to learn. So it has the same flow as the buyer's guide, but it's going to have a little bit more to it because they're home sellers, what they need to do to prepare their home, staging, updating, things like that. So we have a lot of content in this as well. Mark, did you have a question? It looked like you were going to say something.
Well, I really like this, what you've done here. And the one thing that I've looked at Canva templates from different providers and stuff out there, a lot of them just have insert miscellaneous information here, insert miscellaneous information here. You've actually gone through and actually created content in each of those for your Canva templates, haven't
right.
you?
Yeah, because in
Sweet.
Canva templates, which is nice, is I guess we can kind of go into that too. If you don't have a buyer and seller guide, this was created in Canva. And if you look in Canva sometimes, or even you can look on Etsy, a lot of the times you'll see buyer and seller templates that just have A, B, C, D, E, F, G with just a bunch of no nonsense text in those templates, but they're selling you the template, but you're just buying the outline per se. Here, what I tried to do, or what we tried to do here at Revolve, is create some basic content that most agents will be using, that should be using, so that the agents, because it takes time to build these out. Let me tell you, it takes time, but we're trying to free up that time. So if it was something that you're interested in doing, you could, we do sell these templates if you need a buyer side or buyer guide and seller guide, or either or. And we do sell the templates, which is nice if you are a Canva user, because you have to be one if you want to use this specific template. Because if you did, all you'd really have to do is go in here and edit your name and your picture, contact information. And if you scroll down to the very end, and of course, in Canva, I don't know if you all are familiar with Canva, or if you are, you can go in here and edit the text, the font. You can switch out pictures. So we've really tried to build this out to where you didn't have to do a whole lot, because time is, you have other things to do than have to build something out like this. We want you to get out there. We want you to meet clients and take care of your clients and generate business, not have to write content and spend hours selecting photos.
I love this.
So even at the very end, again, if you didn't want to break anything out, and in Canva, you can take out pages that you don't like. You can add to this if you need to add to it as well. I'm just scrolling down really quick because the only thing that you really have to do outside of the agent. Sorry, this one's a little bit longer. My apologies.
34 pages of content. That's amazing.
Let's see here. You can add in your testimonials too if you want to add in some reviews from clients, which is nice. But then you're just going to switch out the contact information. Contact me today right here. And if you want to switch out the pictures, you can. So I think it's really important, and I'm not going to spend too much more time on the buyer and the seller guides, but we were talking about sending emails to potential clients, creating that value. This is value. You should have this in your workflows. And if you don't, consider creating one, or if it's a template that you'd like to purchase, let us know. We'd be more than happy to help you with that and start with that.
Lisa, one caveat to this whole piece as well that I think, and you and I need to kind of work on this, but since we've added our webhook capabilities, there is no reason why we couldn't create this as a template within like a Google Doc or something like that, where the webhook could immediately create the document with all the merge field content in it for your customer. If you're customizing it for their names, that creates the PDF and then automatically sends it to them as an email. So you spend zero time customizing it.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And that's everyone. I just want you to know, I'm still getting familiar with webhooks. Mark is the genius here, but definitely something that we can work on to make that happen. You know, there's so many things that you can do for your real estate processes and your business. And, you know, as we said, content and value is key. And don't be like every other agent. This is so-and-so, are you ready to list your house? You know, why should they list with you? You know, so share that with them, you know, share a guide with them and share with them what you do. You know, what is your process? How are you going to help them? That's what they care about. It's not about how awesome you are. You're just another agent. What are you going to do for them? Well, how are you going to help them accomplish their real estate goals in a timely fashion with the least amount of stress as possible? That is our goal.
Scaling your business.
Exactly. Any questions on that? So just wanted to kind of let you know that we do have those buyer seller guide templates available. If you have any questions on that, or if you're interested in those, let us know. You can reach out to sales@realvolve.com if you have questions on that.
But you do have to have a paid version of Canva on that, or
you do not. You do not.
That's sweet.
Yeah, you can have a free Canva account to go in and edit, because everything in these buyer and seller guides was free. The pictures that I used were free. The tent or the font was free. If you want to upgrade to fancier pictures or something that maybe you don't like, I think Canva, it was charging maybe $129 a year. I can't recall because I've had my account for so long. But yeah, I mean, you can upgrade if you need to, but you can definitely do this on a free account.
Yeah. Quick reminder for those people that would maybe like to win an iPad Air. We do have a social media contest going through the 22nd. And there's a link there in our Facebook group. I did share this deck with you, so you can just click on the link. If you open this slide deck, click on the link and it'll take you to the rules and stuff. But anybody that supplies us with some social media content will be entered into the contest for a iPad Air. And I'm going to tell you guys, I don't know if anybody won the lottery last night or not, but you have a lot better chance of winning an iPad than that. So definitely help us and click on the information to find out how to enter that contest. Also, if you are not a subscriber of our YouTube channel, go out to youtube.com/C/Realvolve Training. Click on the subscribe button and the alarm bell. That way you guys get notified anytime we add new content. Whenever I take the recordings of these meetings that we do, I put them out on YouTube. You would get notified, and make sure that if you miss any of them, that you can have access to those as well.
Awesome.
Help and support. If you need help within Realvolve, there's several different things that you can do. We do have the help button itself. You can just go to help.realvolve.com. search. We've got all kinds of content. It's the Google of Realvolve. You can Google all kinds of information within our help website itself, help.realvolve.com. There's a section, a little button at the bottom of Realvolve on how do I, and it will take you step by step through different options. If you just click on that button right there, it will pop up. You have different options whenever you click into contacts, properties, transactions, be able to step you through different choices of procedures, and it'll step you through it step by step. Also, there is a chat. Definitely reach out to our help team. They are there to help you guys get through any challenges that you may have. And then definitely reach out and create a support ticket if none of those get you the solutions.
And right now we have special pricing on our Navigator program for both semi-annual and annual features. So we're offering $2,000 off of our NAV program. So that's meeting bi-weekly with a navigator like myself we're going to install those Navigator workflows like I was sharing with you today. We customize every single workflow to match your business. And then also we did recently release a self-service navigator. So if you want to go through the program on your own, you absolutely can. It also includes 20 courses that's just all self-paced. It includes the navigator workflows. And again, over 200 templates that you're going to be editing and customizing. So a lot of good stuff happening in our premium services department. So if you have any questions with that, please feel free to reach out to sales@revolve.com with any inquiries that you may have.
Well, last chance to ask any type of questions. If anybody has any closing remarks or questions, let us know. We're here for you. Got just a few more minutes.
Yeah, and it was great meeting you all. We had a lot of participants today. That was a great call. So thank you all for joining us.
I love it whenever people are here, and it's I actually love it whenever they're here before I am. I hopped on and there was like 6 or 7 people already waiting. Like, want to get to it. All right. I don't see any questions. So thank you, everybody, for attending today. And if there's anything that we can do to help you in the future, definitely reach out to us. We'll be happy to do so. And you guys have a great rest of your day and week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.